Barbara. Again, my name is John Paris, and on behalf of the entire Asian American group, we appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to join us here this afternoon. For the people who are watching it online, this is Barbara, is it Cegavske?
Cegavske, the V is silent.
Cegavske. She is currently, she's a Republican candidate for the Secretary of State. And Barbara, I had mentioned to you off camera, and I'll mention it on, Kate Marshall indicated she was up in Reno this weekend, so we'll be handling her interview. She's your Democratic opponent, as if you didn't know that. And we'll be interviewing her as soon as we finish here. Okay. We're doing that over the phone, obviously. So Barbara, the first question that we have for you today is this. Why have you decided to run for this particular race at this particular time?
Well, I am term limited at the end of this year, November. This is my 18th year as a public servant for the state of Nevada. I started in the Assembly and represented District 5, which was all around in the Spring Valley area where my husband and I have been, had a home for 25 years. And I've been in Nevada for 40 years. With my husband, I also owned a small business. And so with this being my 18th year, of course, term limits, and all the constitutional offices are up this year. Everybody's termed out in the constitutional offices. As a previous business owner, I think it's very, very important to have somebody in the Secretary of State that understands and knows business. I think that's very, very important. You need somebody that understands how it is to sign the front of a paycheck, and that it means a lot for somebody to understand and know that we need more businesses here, not higher business license fees. We need to have more people here so that you can have less fees on that. I'm very familiar with the Secretary of State. I was the chair of legislative operations and elections for 2 sessions. I think it's also very important to have somebody that's had a legislative experience. You know and understand the dynamics of legislation. You work with the 63 members of the legislature and the governor. I've been endorsed by the governor, Brian Sandoval, and we'll work really well with him. He and I served, or my first session, he and I served together in the Assembly. He was my seatmate and taught me quite a bit about the judiciary system, so I'm very appreciative to him for that. But I think it's extremely important for all of anybody, when you look at the Secretary of State's office, what kind of experience do you have within the state? Having someone that knows the 17 counties and the people that are in it. Also that business experience, I think, is something that has to be part of an overall picture of when you're looking at candidates.
What exactly is the Secretary of State?
Great question.
Okay, that's a great question.
It's like a press secretary or something?
Actually, the Secretary of State, the biggest thing that everybody knows about it is the elections divisions. There's 8 divisions within the Secretary of State. And one of the things I did with the walk piece is I made sure that everybody understood what the 5 critical areas are, and then gave you a little idea of some of the other duties. You also get to serve on the Economic Development Forum, and you're a voting member, and you work with the governor and with the Economic Development Office, which is very, very important. It's something that I have talked about all the years that I've been in. I think businesses are very, very important to the state of Nevada, small businesses particularly, and they have to be guided, watched through this whole process. We have to make sure that we are consistent, that we are not overpricing the fees and licensing, because one of the things that we look at, people look at us, is are you competitive with other states? When you look at Nevada, how do we compare with the other western states nationally and worldwide? If you look at our, particularly at our licensing for the LLCs, we're $400. New Mexico is $100. Colorado's $50. So we need to be competitive, because when people come, they look at those, not only those types, but then you also are looking at this margins tax, which I am opposed to, and I think would be very detrimental to all of the businesses in the state of Nevada. That margins tax is something we need to defeat and make sure that we let people understand how devastating that would be to our state. I hope that answers your question.
Based on your experience at the legislature and as well as a small business owner, From what you've seen of the inner workings of the Secretary of State's office, what ideas do you have, if elected, to go in there and streamline or at least make more efficient the personnel that you currently have?
Well, thank you for that question. I appreciate it. One of the biggest issues that everybody talks about and is excited about is the business portal. The business portal, to be able to actually go in and it's a one-stop shop to get everything done, and you can decide if you want to do it quarterly, how often you want to do that. I think that's really good. What we're missing, though, is some of the advanced technology. And every time that technology changes, which you understand, every time they have a new phone out, you know technology is changing. We need to keep that updated. We need to make sure that, again, we're competitive, but we also need to make sure that any of the local entities are also included and working with this business portal. It's very, very important that they are included and that we as a state work together with all of the 17 counties, city, and counties together and getting their input as to how we can help them, because they're the ones that are getting the foot traffic, and we want to make sure that people are able to get online and go through the system and that it's easy. It's an easy process. So I want to advance that. One of the other areas is the Securities Division. I would like to go to the legislature and ask them. Right now, the only person that can process and go through the charging somebody is the AG's office. And in talking to the Securities Division and others, we would really like those individuals that need to be prosecuted, that the DA's office in the local 17 counties would be able to do that as well. If the AG can't or is overburdened, that at least somebody within the DA's office of one of those counties would be able to charge them. And I'm talking about there's senior fraud, there's other types of fraud that go on, and we have investigators that look into that, and if you find that there's a case, we should be able to take that in. We have quite a few cases that haven't gone on that probably need to have gone on, but when you're in the AG's office, you get a multitude of things that are going on in the state that you have to address. So we thought if we could bring it to the DA's office, that would help.
Do you think that some of the smaller counties' DA's offices would be able to really prosecute those kinds? Sometimes there are high levels of fraud are many times involved, and the AGs are more experienced. They have dedicated attorneys who handle them. Whereas something like Clark County might not be an issue, or Washoe, but some of the smaller counties, Esmeralda or Lyon, might not have the manpower.
Yeah, the resource. And you're right, they might not, but I'd like to have them have the ability if there is a case, because we sometimes let those individuals off because we don't have the resources to prosecute them, and they go on to their next victim. And we want to stop that. We want people to know that there are people out there that shouldn't be trusted, and we need to safeguard our citizens as much as we can. So it was just another idea, another suggestion.
Regarding, I'm sorry, does anyone else want to?
Okay, I'm good.
Regarding the elections division itself, you had mentioned, and I apologize, that you had sat on the elections, one of the committees involving elections?
Yes. In the Senate, we have elections and procedures,
okay.
And in that I was the chair. And I've also served as a committee member when we haven't been in the majority. So I sit on that, and we would listen to different bills that the Secretary of State would bring forward and work with their division on some of the election laws.
What changes to our election laws do you think have been, I don't want to say lacking, but what updates need to be done to certain election laws in order to ensure that we are having balanced elections here in the state of Nevada?
Well, the one thing that has been talked about, Ross Miller brought forward, our current Secretary of State, the photo ID, and but the plan he brought was very expensive, and the clerks felt that it would be very hard to implement. When I was asked, I said, yes, I have no problem with showing my identification card, and most people have an ID card that they've gotten, a government ID card, whether you are on any subsidies or anything from the government, everybody has an identification card. I know at DMV currently there is a form and a avenue for those that are homeless to go in and get an identification card. And I believe that they have some things for seniors in different pockets, like maybe AARP. Some of them might have something that they'd be able to help the seniors. But I certainly don't want anybody suppressed from voting, so if that would be an issue, it's something that we would need to work out, but I do not have an issue with showing your identification. And I am not in favor of same-day registration or same-day voting, and in talking to the clerks and the voter registrars across the state, neither are they. They feel that it's very hard to do. When you have somebody come in and register, they're not able to go through and thoroughly do the investigation of whether or not they're a citizen and all of those things. So it's something that I think we should not do as a state.
Kevin, it sounded like you were about to say something.
No, I'm fine.
You're good?
Actually, a lot, but just a thought.
Uh-oh, here we go.
I found out several companies or entities or what have you that is past due. The annual registration of the corporation, different entity. Just so happened I check up for them, and every credit card, almost every bill, electric bill, what have you, is automatically paid. Put your debit card in there, and it's automatically paid. I think the state ought to have something like that, so this way you don't have to worry about it. That's what I do personally. Everything is in, so you're never past due, right? And I think that should be very simple to implement as a choice.
Oh, I absolutely agree with you, and I think that is something that, again, it's the technology, and getting into that technology part, I do believe that that's something through the business portal that would be able to be looked at and be able to do. So I think you have a good suggestion.
So we can do, after it's implemented, we'll be able to do the counties or whatever all at the same time, right?
Yes.
Oh, that'd be nice. That'd be nice.
Yes, I agree. And I think that's what everybody's striving for. So
Good.
thank you for that question.
Okay. Any other questions? It's always awkward when we have
Do you have to work
specialized, I'm sorry.
here or up north?
Well,
When's
actually,
it-
there's
when's
an
it
office
elected?
here at the Grant Sawyer Building. It's a very nice office if you haven't been down there. And
Been there.
And this is where we have most of the business in the state is in the south. But there is, of course, the office there, and of course you want to be there during the session full time. So that's not an issue. I've had a home up north for 24 years, and then I've lived here for 40.
Once Tesla comes, then upstairs, then up north will be business.
Yes, that's what we want. We want more businesses to come. We want to let everybody know we're open for business in Nevada. We're very excited about the things that the governor and Steve Hill's office are doing to make sure that businesses want to come here. So the true test will be if we can defeat the margins tax, because I know a lot of people, businesses are waiting to find out if that comes through or not. And if that comes through, they may not choose to come to Nevada.
That's a no on 3, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And yes on 1, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Thank
because I did have a business attorney friend attend the seminar yesterday at the governor's conference. By the time she walked out, she go, "No way."
For the
No,
3?
for the margin tax.
Yeah,
no
good.
way.
Yeah, I thought they did a really good job yesterday. Carol Villardo has been going all around the state talking, and she's a tax expert, and she really does a good job and explains why it's detrimental to the businesses in Nevada. I was the first legislator to sign on with the chamber when they had the signing, and I was the first one that signed, because I knew, through my years in the legislation, that bill had been presented in a different form to us, and it did not pass in the legislature, so that's why they put it in as an initiative.
Well, I was saying earlier, it's oftentimes awkward when we have more specialized statewide races or countywide races, like the county clerk or the county recorder or secretary of state that has a very specialized job function.
Yes.
But we appreciate you fielding our questions.